Victorum Gaming fans and Hail Caesar fans from Warlord Games, back with another video covering the different factions for the game. So today we're going to take a look at the Mitanni Empire. So another one of those earlier ones, working our way basically as far back from history up through more recent times. So basically 16th through 13th centuries BC as they take a look at there. And so on army restrictions here, so again, this does bring in a little bit more in the cavalry side, so very similar to the Babylonia list. So chariots do have to be at least 20% of the army, so basically 1 in every 5 units has to be chariots. Infantry also have to be a quarter of the units. You do get 1 cavalry unit, and as normal, the divisions have to be at least 4 plus units per division. No, or skirmishers don't count. And cavalry are always made into their own separate divisions. So, and then skirmishers can be up to half of a division, basically. So, and as normal, all divisions have to have a commander. So, what do the Mitanni bring to the table here? So you get some pretty neat infantry units. Again, a lot of lighter units with some ranged options, and then a lot of times your chariots will be doing the heavy work for you. So we start off with the Hurrian or Syrian medium infantry, Shukituklu, with long spears and shields. That's a heck of a name there. Again, for this time period, solid clash and sustained. Also a little bit of the short range there, 26 points a unit, and an okay morale save. So a decent little medium-ish infantry. You do have the Hurrian light archers. So again, as is normal, ranged units, not really focusing on melee, and they do have really solid ranged stats there. No armor or morale, you don't really need it, and at 20 points a unit. Then lots more light infantry, so you have Phoenician light infantry with javelins and bows, but as small units. So again, fairly cheap there, and still gives you some long range firepower as well. The Habiru light infantry, again, javelins and bows, also as small units, so virtually the same there, same point cost. The Hupshu light infantry, again, javelins and bows as small units, and here once again is a little bit of a difference. So these guys are levies and a little bit cheaper as a result. So it would have been nice if they would have really separated or made a little bit of a difference between the Phoenician and the Habiru ones. So just double checking, make sure there was no difference. And then you have skirmishers with javelins as small units. Again, just a little bit of short range action there. These guys are not levy, but also very cheap. Skirmishers with slings and or bows, range as slings as small units, so for 1 point more and having that long range of 2 is pretty useful. So again, lots of firepower to sort of whittle enemies down so that when you do get contact with your actual infantry focused units, hopefully you can then capitalize and start forcing those break checks and stuff like that. And then here we get to the heavy hitters. So the Hurrian light chariots with spear and bow armed crews, clash of 7, sustain 6. Also some ranged ability. So again, pretty much everything in this army will shoot. The best morale saves for the whole force here, 4+. The chariots start here with tough fighters at 31 points a unit, and you can update Hurrian chariot units to Marianu, up to half of them basically, for an extra 3 points a unit, but that adds stubborn on top of everything, which is pretty dang cool. Anything that helps you stick around longer is pretty cool. Then you have Syrian light chariots with bow and javelin armed crews, so a little bit cheaper than the initial Hurrian version there, and the big difference there is you are not tough fighters and your clash drops down to 6, but consequently though their long range is 1 better too, so it's actually a pretty decent trade-off for only being 1 point less there. You can add chariot runners. Again, we've seen that with, I think, the Babylonian list. So basically light infantry javelin men fielded as small units, up to 1 unit per chariot, and just basically adds a little bit more in the close combat ability, not that much, but some extra short range firepower, and those do run you 13 points a unit. And then last, you get your 1 unit of cavalry scouts. We've seen that before. Again, an okay clash value, but again, key thing, light cavalry here, don't expect too much of these guys, so you really want to be putting these guys against other similar type units, or ideally even weaker units, and just hopefully get in there and do your business if you do have to end up getting engaged in melee. And they do have a little bit of ranged firepower too, so just a 1 and a 1. But again, consider they're a small unit. They do have a morale of 6 and 15 points for the 1 unit. So again, a little bit of mobility. Let's do some scouting and moving around the flanks and stuff is not a bad deal. And then on the commander side, so again, pretty standard for what we've seen so far. All the commanders and the general have a leadership of 8. So again, not extremely good, but certainly not bad either. No 7s here. So 8 is about really the most common, so they'll do their job, but again, you don't want to get greedy with your orders and kind of ruin your turns, because this again, this type of army, you're going to be want to doing as much of the shooting as you possibly can and getting your maneuvering right so that you can then set up the charges where you want. Again, your chariots and those Syrian or Hurrian medium infantry are going to be doing the heavy combat lifting for you. All the other skirmishers and bowmen and stuff like that are really going to be there to whittle the enemy down, pile those casualties on before contact is made. And don't forget, again, your chariots and the runners do give you some more mobile range as well. So, and again, chariots can do just about everything for your list here. And so the fact that you have to have at least 20% of your army as those should tell you where you need to be focusing. So that and your infantry, again, chariots are clearly the best units in this list, so bumping those up, maybe even like half your army as chariots with a lot of skirmisher support and maybe even some of that Hurrian infantry is probably the way to go with these guys. So again, tons and tons of missile fire, very similar to the Babylonian list that we've already looked at. So this covers the Mitanni, really cool, often overlooked army. A lot of the similar models that you can use. Again, Warlord makes some that I think you could reuse from other factions that are in plastic, but other than that, a lot of it's going to be largely metal, so especially like the chariots. But really cool army to collect. Not everyone's going to be playing these guys, just again, lesser known as far as, or lesser played typically than some of the other armies for this type of game. But overall, still a really fun thing to collect, and considering not everybody knows about these guys or maybe knows how they play, it does give you a little bit of a surprise advantage too in some of the things they could do. So if you guys enjoyed that covers the Mitanni for Hail Caesar, and then stay tuned for more faction reviews.